Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into two ancient artifacts that literally shatter our historical timelines. We often assume the march of human progress is just this straight, predictable line, right? Moving neatly from primitive tools all the way to modern computers. But today, we're going to look at physical objects, things sitting in museums right now that completely defy every logical explanation we have about our past. Imagine pulling something out of the ground so bizarre and so advanced that even today's cutting-edge AI and 3D scanners are just left entirely humbled by the mystery. We usually rely on modern science to give us all the solid answers about antiquity, but what happens when the absolute best scientific analysis proves that our history textbooks might just be completely wrong? Let's get into it. Section 1. Voynich, The Discovery, a book that defies reality. Okay, so let's go back to 1912. A rare book dealer named Wilfred Voynich discovers this 240-page manuscript hidden away in an old Italian monastery. And from the outside, it looked like just another ordinary aging book. But when we used radiocarbon dating, which is a highly precise scientific tool, it placed the book's creation somewhere between the years 1400 and 1440. It sat in total obscurity for 600 years, and right up to the present day, its secrets remain entirely locked, despite our absolute best technological efforts. Here's where things get absolutely wild. The sheer impossibility of its contents is what makes this book so famous. Every single page is filled with an unknown, unmatchable script that doesn't tie back to literally any civilization on Earth. Then you have these highly detailed illustrations of bizarre plants that simply do not exist in reality. You've got advanced astrological diagrams of star systems that medieval Europeans shouldn't have even known about. And then there are these incredibly complex sketches of naked women bathing in strange green liquid tubes surrounded by what looks like plumbing. It reads way less like a human text and more like blueprints of an unknown technology. And this brilliantly illustrates the conflict we have here. At first, historians made a few baseline assumptions. They thought, okay, maybe it's just a strange medieval medical guide for women's health. Or maybe it was an elaborate fake created just to scam rich buyers out of their money. But the scientific reality points in a totally different direction. Linguists have actually confirmed the text follows a systematically complex linguistic system. So think about it. If this was just a medieval money-making scam, why would anyone invent a language system so incredibly complex and mathematically consistent that nobody could ever read it? It just doesn't make sense. And get this, despite throwing our most powerful modern computing and artificial intelligence at a medieval book, the Voynich Manuscript remains a totally unsolved puzzle. We're talking about the best cryptographers in the world, people who break complex digital encryptions for a living. They've spent decades analyzing these patterns, and they have completely failed to break the code. No way around it, science has hit a brick wall. So the crucial point here is that for 600 years, this code has remained utterly unbroken. Every time you turn a page, it's hiding knowledge that feels like it belongs to another world, or maybe a lost civilization whose language and science have just vanished forever. Section 2. Antikythera, the rusted relic. Scanning an ancient computer. Picture this. It's 1901. Greek divers are exploring the deep waters near the Antikythera island. Amidst a sunken shipwreck full of standard historical artifacts, the usual statues and jewelry, they pull up this heavily calcified, rusted lump of metal from the ocean floor. Now, archaeologists initially just dismissed it as a broken astrolabe, which is a pretty basic navigation tool you'd expect to find on a ship. Actually, scratch that. When modern science finally took a closer look, it revealed a staggering truth. This was a 2,000-year-old, highly advanced analog computer that simply shouldn't exist in the BCE era. When modern researchers used advanced X-ray imaging and 3D scans to peer inside all that rock and rust, they found an impossible number: 37. The relic contained 37 incredibly precise metal gears, all perfectly interlocked in a sophisticated mechanism. And what those 37 gears achieved is an absolute plot twist. This BC-era device was essentially a mechanical brain. It perfectly calculated the movements of the sun, the moon, and the planets. It could actually predict the exact dates of future eclipses. It even had a specific dial that tracked the 4-year schedule for the Olympic Games. And the craziest part? All of this operated with the intricate precision of a modern mechanical clock, built thousands of years before clocks were even invented. It really begs the ultimate question. How did people 2 millennia ago possess the engineering genius to build this? To craft miniature, precise metal gears, you need advanced machining tools, tools that we strongly believe absolutely did not exist back then. And it brings up a darker question, right? Why did this profound knowledge suddenly just vanish from human history, forcing us to relearn it thousands of years later? Comparing these two completely different artifacts side by side shows us exactly where our modern scientific tools hit their limit against history. We throw radiocarbon dating and AI at a 600-year-old book, and what do we get? An unbreakable code. We throw X-rays and 3D scans at a 2,000-year-old rusted rock, and we uncover lost advanced technology. Science can expose the mechanics of these objects for sure, but it completely fails to explain the genius behind them. Section 3. The limits of science. Rethinking human history. Both of these mysteries force us to confront a pretty uncomfortable truth about the timeline of human advancement. We really like to think we have history perfectly mapped out, neatly organized into our eras and ages, but the absolute crucial point you should take away from this explainer is simply this. Our history is not as simple as we were taught. Humanity's past is heavily layered with lost technologies, forgotten brilliant minds, and uncrackable knowledge that completely defies our carefully constructed textbooks. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. If a 2,000-year-old analog computer and a 600-year-old uncrackable code can just exist in plain sight, what other lost knowledge is waiting out there, buried deep in the sand or hidden away in an old monastery, just waiting to entirely rewrite our history? The next time science digs up a rusted relic or opens an old book, be prepared for everything we know to change once again. Keep questioning what you know, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.